highest peaks of history.
Welcome in, one and all. It's Saturday, and as I promised, it's time to set the stage for our newest adventure. If you don't know what that means, setting the stage is a time when we come together and we talk about the broader world. We provide context for the fiction of whatever game we're about to be playing. We usually do this for larger games, and Assassin's Creed Origins certainly fits the bill. There is a lot to talk about today, so grab some pens and some notes and get ready because this will be necessary. And in point of fact, we will be setting the stage for two separate stories today. And I say we, because Assassin's Creed is all about brotherhood. And to that end, I have someone joining me in the shadows.
Well, hello.
Journeyman Vader, welcome on into the cast. Journeyman Vader is a fantastic streamer. You guys should definitely go check him out. He focuses on longer RPGs and randomizers, I believe. And
I've been doing a bit of randomizers, yeah.
and you've been growing by leaps and bounds every time you stream. It's great to have you on the cast. Vader has appeared on setting the stage a few times before. Journeyman Vader is one of my keepers, and well, when Vader has to go to work shortly, providing that we have some things left to cover, we will be joined hopefully by someone who can help set the stage for the other half of Assassin's Creed Origins. But for now, we need to talk about Abstergo. We need to talk about the Animus, and we need to talk about Desmond Miles. We have a lot to talk about. So let's just jump in straight to Assassin's Creed 1.
Alright.
So in Assassin's Creed, the very first thing you see in the very first game is Desmond Miles.
Yeah.
And Desmond Miles is a dude that lives in the fantastic mythological world of, what is it, San Jose 2004?
Something like that.
And I'm actually not kidding. And he signs up for this project wherein... No, he does not sign up.
He's kidnapped.
He's kidnapped in the first game? I thought the first game he was there willingly.
No, he was kidnapped.
Okay, so my mistake. He's kidnapped and he's taken to this laboratory. And there's this machine in the library. Yeah, there's a machine in the library. There's a machine in this laboratory called the Animus. And what the Animus does, supposedly, is it genealogically connects you to your bloodline, and you can use that connection to find, format, and record memories of your predecessors. So
you're essentially viewing a true history through the eyes of your ancestors.
Yes. So Desmond is connected to an Arab. Do we know what part of Arabia Altair is from?
Let me look at this.
Is he from Israel?
It takes place around the around Israel.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a wiki right now.
So Desmond is connected to Altair. Altair is an assassin. Like, capital A, assassin. Not like it's his job to assassinate people. It is. But he is part of an order. He's part of a guild called the Assassins. And they are basically monks. They pass as clergy. That's where the white robe comes from. They are members of the clergy, air quote, and they assassinate high-profile targets for whomever contracts them, which is usually the church.
That's hard to remember. I know I was always under the assumption that they were a bit more of a private organization, but
They are, but they have to get their money from somewhere.
Mhm.
And
Definitely not the Christian church.
no,
but,
no, I didn't mean the Christian
Yeah.
church. I meant, you know, the Islamic church.
Yeah, most likely, yes. I believe you're correct.
So their enemies are the Templar. Yes, those Templar. Yes, the Knights Templar. Yes, the Roman motherfuckers. Yes, those guys. And
The Holy Crusaders.
yeah. And the game takes place in and around Israel and Persia.
In Jerusalem.
And well, Jerusalem is in Israel.
Yeah.
And you follow Altair's legacy through Desmond's eyes, and that's the game for what matters, because Altair is not connected to this guy, who, for some reason, his name is fucking escaping me. Give me just a second.
I will try to help once it
Assassin's
pops up on
Creed
the screen.
Origins protagonist. What is your name, dog? No, that's Bayek. Altair and Bayek, this guy, are not related at all. They are completely unconnected, and we'll be talking about that later on. But right now, what you need to know is Desmond is captured, and he's forced to relive these memories of Altair. Now, let's talk about why. So good.
So essentially, Abstergo knows that Altair found something that's beneficial to their cause, and they knew that Desmond was his ancestor.
Now, Abstergo, in the far-off land of San Jose in 2004, or wherever the fuck... I say that, but I'm in the ballpark of where they are, somewhere. They are run by the Templar. Those are still the Templar. Think Illuminati. Just Deus Ex style Illuminati. Same deal, except, in this case, it's the Templar. The Templar are this multi...
Okay. No, it's New York City.
New York, okay. It's like 2004. This multi-billion-dollar multinational corporation that would be right out of Shadowrun. And they have Desmond because they know that Desmond is linked to this assassin Altair, and they want whatever Altair finds. And this sets up the plot for a bunch of stuff, and it makes a lot of things from Assassin's Creed Syndicate, for example, make sense. So, Desmond is forced to relive these memories of Altair. He himself, at this point, doesn't know shit. Does he even... No! I'm 90% certain, Vader, that the first part of Assassin's Creed, the first Assassin's Creed, he signed up for a thing and got paid, and then he wasn't allowed to leave about halfway through the game.
The wiki says right here, in September 2012, Desmond was kidnapped and incarcerated by Abstergo Industries.
Okay, fair enough. So, point. He's forced to live these memories, and does he find it in the first game?
Find
whatever
what?
The fuck Altair has.
Yes.
Okay. So what did Altair find?
What he found was what is known as an Apple of Eden.
And this sets up a whole other thing. So you want to talk about the Apples of Eden a little bit? Because I know about the later Abstergo stuff. This stuff I'm kind of...
So the Apple of Eden and the other pieces of Eden are legendary artifacts from a prior civilization. Essentially precursors to the human race. And they were incredibly advanced until and they thrived essentially until essentially a shift and the magnetic field of Earth wiped them out.
Which we're going to gloss over that 28 days later nonsense. Day after tomorrow nonsense, but the Protoss, effectively, this hyper advanced civilization came before humans. And the Abstergo Corporation, the Knights Templar, that's a train, wants to get that tech because why wouldn't they, right? Like, it, they want it. Like, do they want it for the right reasons? Like, they want to rule the world with it, sure, but
Yeah.
they want to vault humanity forward. They don't want to oppress with it.
I'm not completely sure about that point, but
On paper. Obviously, in practice, like they would be gods, whether or not that's a good thing. But on paper, they want to use these artifacts to catapult humanity forward, because whenever we jump forward, hundreds if not thousands of years, it always goes well. China. Shout out to China. You guys make all kinds of cool stuff. But yeah, moving on. It's a history joke because Assassin's Creed is all about history. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Desmond is he freed in AC1, or does he get freed during the Ezio arc?
He escapes at the very beginning of 2.
Okay. So that's basically Assassin's Creed 1. I'm not going to go into Altair's story. We're not going to go into Ezio's story because they're not relevant. Bayek is not related. But this whole Desmond Abstergo thing is. So you finish the game. Altair finds the Apple of Eden. Do the Templars find it, or do they just found where Altair put it?
Essentially, what Altair found was a map.
A map to the Apple of Eden. So you know.
Yeah, he found. That's right. He found a map to several different pieces of Eden,
Which is great, but now it's in the hands of the Templar because Indiana Jones is a Templar apparently. So game 2, Desmond is still captured by Abstergo.
and he's just kind of left there while they go off to collect the pieces of Eden.
Right. And they come to find that there is a vault in the control of one Ezio Auditore, or formerly, because Ezio is long dead, Ezio Auditore. And Ezio has a vault supposedly full of magical artifacts that the Templars can't open, plus he has witnessed some things that Abstergo wants. So they're like, Desmond, get back in the machine. And
Well, actually, what happens is at the very beginning, one of the characters from Abstergo turns out to be a double agent and helps you escape. And
well, yeah, like I was about to say, and then the Fire Nation attacks.
yeah,
But yeah, like
that's like the very beginning of the game before anything else happens.
right.
Mm-hmm. They just sort of hop him in the Animus to start his chain of memories with Ezio, and then they escape.
Yeah, and then the Fire Nation attacks. It's like, hey, you're gonna go see what's up with Ezio, and then the scientist is like, well, actually, I have a hidden blade. And then you realize, oh shit, the assassins are also in modernity. Why they use a hidden blade and not, a gun? Mostly because they have a flair for the dramatic. The assassins always have a flair for the dramatic. I mean, one of the first times you see Altair, there's this old priest dude, and he's like, behold the faith of my children, they leap to their deaths unharmed. And like 6 assassins just jump off the rooftop. Now there's piles of hay for them to land in, which is, classic Assassin's Creed, but one of the dudes misses. One of the dudes misses and just frags himself. and he's laying on the ground, and like there's one assassin holding him down, and there's another assassin covering his mouth so that he doesn't scream while he dies. It's fucked, but that just like they are all about the dramatic shit. So modern assassin pulls out a hidden blade and is like, Desmond, we need to go. And then they dip, and you're like, oh, the war between the Templars and the Assassins is still going on. And the now, why do the Assassins want the Eden pieces? Do they want to hide them again?
They're essentially protectors of some sort. They like it's explained in Ezio, like ever since Ezio, they've been constantly coming in contact with essentially ghosts of Protoss.
The precursors, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and they've been essentially tasked with protecting these artifacts.
dude, like now this is the extent of my knowledge. Why? First of all, how did they go from assassins for hire to protectors? And then secondly, why? Why do they give a shit?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty rusty on all this.
Which
I
is
just
fine.
know that eventually, they started, they care essentially, they work essentially for the greater good.
Right. So, according to the assassins, this precursor tech, this Protoss tech, is we're not ready for it, or it's going to cause another calamity, or they're keeping it out of Abstergo's hands for reasons, whatever those reasons may be. And they're the good guys, so they're air quote right. And the precursor ghosts, which I honestly think are AI. I think they're uploaded consciousnesses.
I believe so, yes.
They're not talking to them directly at this point. They're mostly saying, be careful of this thing. Don't do this thing.
And then they end up talking straight to Desmond through Ezio.
Yeah, they talk straight to Desmond through Ezio at the end of Revelations?
Actually, at the end of Assassin's Creed 2.
Oh, okay.
At the end of Revelations, Ezio gets his hands on a piece of Eden and ends up talking to Desmond himself.
Right. So, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So, the assassins take Desmond away. And when he gets to the safe house, they're like, we have an animus. And Desmond is like, out of the frying pan, back to the fuckers. And they're like, no, we're not going to force you, but if you don't do this, then the Templars win and the Earth explodes. And Desmond is like,
yeah.
Okay, fuck, fine. So,
to be fair, they've stated that their animus is a lot safer than the one Abstergo uses.
they also didn't prove that in any way.
True.
But you're right.
I mean,
The early Assassin's Creed games try really, really, really hard to make the assassins, which a name that has a stigma to it, obviously, the good guys. Like they go out of their way to be like, no, these guys are good and right and pure and like they're nice and they're cordial, like they're super, super respectful. And then Ezio shits all over that.
yeah.
Ezio is a bastard. Like, now again, Ezio has been dead for hundreds of years, but when we first meet Ezio Auditore, he's a teenager. He's a teenager in 15th century Venice, 18th century Venice.
Yeah, like Renaissance time.
Renaissance time Venice, and he's noble, landed, rich, and a fuck. Like, he's a bastard. And it's so funny. And then you realize, oh, he's not an assassin at this point.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so he's just a punk-ass kid who is running his mouth. He's breaking into his girlfriend's house to have sex with her. so that her parents don't find out. I'm completely serious. Like, he's just full of wine, full of mischief, and then he comes home and his entire family is dead.
No, he
Most of them
comes
are
home-
dead.
He comes home one day to find his family taken off to an execution platform.
In which case, they die. Like,
Yeah.
they still die.
Yeah, his
And-
father and his 2 brothers, I believe,
And his
are all-
mother.
His mother, I think, was just killed. I just remember his father and 2 brothers were on the execution platform.
There was a
his mother
woman.
also died.
There was a woman on the execution platform.
All right,
Like,
it's,
in the music video that I just showed, well, I didn't show it, but in Shadows of the Moonlight, it shows that scene, and there's at least one woman on that platform. Anyway, and they're captured by the church. That is the Holy Roman Catholic Church, i.e. the Templar. And so Ezio is like,
essentially.
why?
They essentially frame his entire family
Yeah,
and make Ezio a criminal.
and
A
so
wanted criminal.
yeah, and so Ezio, full of piss and vinegar and reeling from the death of his family, is like, he just goes on a fucking rampage for a second. He gets his face kicked in, but he tries to go on a rampage, and then he gets saved by
A friend of the family,
yeah,
essentially, who
yeah,
is also an assassin.
and then the whole assassins thing starts. And this dude, this family friend, is a Jedi. Like, he is super, like, calm and respectful, and he's in control of the situation all the time. And this is the first time that we learn the Assassin's Creed, which is the stupidest fucking thing in the entire series. It's so dumb. They've set this up for 2 games at this point, and they're just like, we're going to tell you the creed, Ezio. And you're just like, oh my god, this is gonna be amazing. Like, what is this creed of Assassin's Creed? And it's nothing is true, everything is permitted.
I believe
And-
that's brought up at least a couple times in the first game.
I don't think so. I don't think it's specifically stated that that's
At
the
the-
creed.
True.
It's brought up, but it's never specifically said this is the creed. And I distinctly remember little me, like young me, in whenever this game came out, was like, what the fuck? Like, it is, nothing is true, everything is permitted. It's just like,
To be fair, in Revelations they explain that that's not supposed to be taken literally.
I'm aware, but it's still fucking stupid. Like, it's the writing gets better in the later games, thank fuck. Because you have this dude who's basically assassin Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is awesome, just very reverently, nothing is true, everything is permitted. And Ezio just goes along with it, and you're just like, okay, sure, whatever, fine. But again, this is largely irrelevant to Bayek. So, skipping ahead, at the end of Assassin's Creed 2, Ezio's story takes place over 3.5 games.
Yeah.
And at the end of Assassin's Creed 2, the first Ezio game,
They find one of the precursor AIs.
now
and
is this the one? And yes, I'm about to say this sentence, chat. Is this the one where you assassinate the Pope, or is that the next one?
I'm trying to. No, because the next one takes place in Rome.
Okay, and so in this one, Ezio finds a map, or not a map,
It is, because I just remembered that the end of Assassin's Creed 2 also takes place in
yeah.
Rome.
Okay, so at the end of Assassin's Creed 2, you go to Rome. You kill about 100 dudes, and you wind up in the Vatican. And you're just like, are they seriously going to fucking do this? And
At this point, the Templars have the Apple of Eden, and the leader of Templars has declared himself Pope.
Yeah. And so the last scene of Ezio's story in Assassin's Creed 2 is Ezio jumping off a chandelier in the Vatican, stabbing the Pope through the head, yes, I'm serious, and grabbing the Apple of Eden, and then he's sucked into the Netherrealm like Yugimoto.
I don't believe so. Like,
Yeah.
I believe there's a hidden chamber underneath the Vatican, is where he goes to.
He doesn't know about the hidden chamber though. Like he's pulled into the Netherrealm and then he sees it. Or no, that's earlier in the game. Sorry,
Yeah,
earlier
no.
in the game he's pulled into the Netherrealm. He sees the vision of the lower chamber. Then he takes the Apple of Eden, kills the Pope, goes down into this chamber, and this precursor AI is like, yo,
The world is going to end.
the world is going to end. He tells Ezio all of these things to set Ezio on the path of. Thank you. She tells Ezio all of these things to set Ezio on the path to find more of these artifacts and to cement the Assassin's Order as the ones who do this. And then the fucking AI turns to Desmond and goes, "I know you're."
Turns to the fucking camera and goes, "The rest is up to you, Desmond."
Yeah,
And Ezio's just like, "What?"
Yeah, what I love about this is the AI turns to the camera and goes, "The rest is on you, Desmond," and immediately Ezio goes, "Who are you talking to? Who's Desmond?" And it's just like, thank you so much, thank you, game, thank you, because like it was so unnecessarily dramatic, and then Ezio just destroys the moment. It's great. And of course Desmond comes out of the Animus, and they're like, "It spoke to me," and they're like, "You mean it spoke to Ezio?" And he's like, "No, dog, it talked to me." And they're like, "What? What the fuck?" Like, and they have this whole moment of oh god, this is on a whole other level. And so this AI with one sentence has fucked up 2 generations of people. Oh, like the exact same conversation happened in Renaissance Venice and in New York State 2004 at, I would say at the exact same time, but obviously we're talking about 2 different parallels. Ezio goes to the bar and tells his assassin homies what the fuck just happened, and everybody's like, "Who is Desmond? Why did it turn away from you and address someone else? There was no one else there." At the same time, Desmond is like, "It turned away from Ezio and spoke to me. I need a whiskey now." Like, it's just, it's insane. And what this does, I did say the writing gets better. What this does is it shows the thread weaving through this game, and we go right into we can't call it Assassin's Creed 3 because it's not.
Brotherhood.
It's Brotherhood. It's the second Ezio game. It's the third Assassin's Creed game, but it is not Assassin's Creed 3. What I like about this is in a couple of games, Ubisoft realizes we can't make everyone important to history related to Desmond Miles, but we'll get to that. So in Brotherhood, now this is where it blends together for me. What happens in Brotherhood for Desmond?
All right, so as at the beginning of Brotherhood and at the end of Assassin's Creed 2, they are escaping from essentially the warehouse, Desmond and folks are, and they go to essentially Ezio's ancestral home outside of Venice. And they use that as a base of operations while they're searching the premises for like clues and stuff. And going through more of Ezio's memories as he recovers from nearly dying in Rome and, starts going through Rome trying to piece the puzzle together.
Now, mind you, Ezio is still, like, shook from this. Because
I should also say there's like a time skip somewhere in towards the end of Assassin's Creed 2, and Ezio's like a full-fledged, like in his late 20s, early 30s now.
Right, but he's still he's still shook because he's he's in Venice. Did he meet Da Vinci already, or is that in this?
Yeah, he meets Da Vinci in Assassin's Creed 2.
So he met Leonardo da Vinci, which raised his understanding of science and technology significantly.
You even use like Da Vinci's flying machine
Right.
in
Assassin's Creed 2. So he's knowledgeable about Renaissance technology and science and stuff like that. But then he's a Renaissance dude thrown into a Protoss temple, and it's just like he's shook. He's shook for years because like today in 2018 we would be shook for years. That's just a thing. And so Ezio setting up his home setting up his ancestral home and his base of operations because
Desmond sets up in Ezio's ancestral home. That's where they put the anime.
Oh, I thought right. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're right. Now, do they know about the vault at this point? 'Cause I'm pretty sure it happens very early on in Brotherhood.
The vault. You'll have to.
There's a
remind me.
vault underneath Ezio's home. That's the key plot of Assassin's Creed.
Under the.
Revelation.
It's not under Ezio's home. It's under the old assassin base in Israel
I'm
in Revelation.
gonna be honest. I thought it was the same place. Okay.
No.
So
Yeah, in Revelations, that's where that is.
okay. So
in
well,
Brotherhood, there's a vault underneath the Colosseum.
there it is. There's a vault underneath the Colosseum in Rome.
Mhm.
So, again, focusing on Desmond, they're like, remember the Protoss lady was like, "It's on you, Desmond. The world is going to end. You can prevent it." And so the assassins are like, "We need, like Jesse, we need to cook." So they are trying to use Ezio to find these other artifacts, and what they are discovering is they can't take Ezio and go to England because Ezio has never been to England. So they're locked into what Ezio has seen, and they use Ezio in Brotherhood to try to find the next link. They know Ezio found some stuff, but the main thing in Brotherhood, I think, is to find the next person that Desmond can link to.
They're essentially looking through Ezio to try to find, essentially the missing link to get to the next point where they can, help. Eventually, they do find the way to save the world through Ezio, though.
Right, but they don't know that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And their whole thing is it's basically a movie. Like you're playing as you the player are playing as Ezio doing all of this stuff, but for Desmond and company, it's essentially a movie.
Yeah, and as for the plot of Brotherhood, eventually Ezio reclaims the Apple of Eden again, and I don't remember what happens at the end of Brotherhood. It's been quite a while since I've played the game.
Yeah, mind you guys, this game is old.
Yeah.
Is this like PS2?
3.
No, not Brotherhood. No way.
Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and 3 are all on PS3.
Wow. I'm gonna be honest, I thought Assassin's Creed 1 was on PS1.
No.
Wow. That's my bad. There's still older games, though.
Yeah, 1 is very early PS3.
So anyway, so I think it was a system seller for the PS3. Wasn't it just like, look at these graphics, and for the time it was
Yeah.
So Ezio finds the Apple of Eden, and Brotherhood is the Two Towers, right? Brotherhood is the middle of the story, and it focuses heavily on Ezio's life, which again is completely irrelevant to Bayek. So skipping over that, ultimately in the third Ezio game, Revelations. Go ahead.
You want to talk about what happens to Desmond at the end of Brotherhood first?
I don't know, so feel free.
So, I just remember that they find that there's the hidden vault under the Colosseum, and they go, essentially, to find out what's in there. And what happens is Desmond and the others, the girl who broke him out, they're all there, and essentially another precursor AI starts to essentially manipulate Desmond, take control of him using their power, and, well, not exactly take control of him. It's more like they open his eyes to the truth that, I believe her name is Rachel, the girl who, I could be wrong there, but the girl who broke him out of Abstergo is not only a double agent, but a sleeper agent for Abstergo. They have her under essentially hypnosis, and they can trigger her to turn against them at any time. Now, nobody knows this except for Desmond because of what the AI has revealed to him, and against his own will, he ends up stabbing her.
Oh, we should mention, at some point they gave Desmond a hidden blade.
Yeah, and then Desmond goes into a coma.
And in this coma, we go into Assassin's Creed Revelations.
Which they decided the best thing to do for Desmond while he was in this coma was to throw him in the Animus.
Now, in fairness to them, they specifically said that when you're in the Animus, because you're living another life, your body is basically in stasis.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's taxing your soul, effectively, but it's not taxing your body. So,
It's all genetic.
And
At the Animus.
And they didn't have much of a medical facility. They were in a safe house. So
They were in the back of a truck.
At this point,
in
yeah.
Revelation.
So it kind of makes sense that they were going to throw him in the Animus. And while Desmond is unconscious, you go through
the third part of Ezio's story, which is much later on. He's an old man now. He's in like his 50s.
Yeah. And he's still an assassin. He's still doing his thing.
He travels to the to the old base in Israel and essentially gets ambushed by the Templars.
We'll get there, Brightwind. Brightwind says, how much can we talk about the Animus in regards to Origins? We'll get there.
But yeah, he's ambushed by the Templars in
Revelation.
the old base in Israel at the beginning of Revelations, and eventually he has to chase them down to Constantinople.
I believe you mean Istanbul, but moving on.
Yeah. All right.
I was quoting the song.
Mm.
Anyway, so Assassin's Creed, like, through story is weird at this point. You might have noticed. But eventually, Ezio finds
the means to unlock a hidden vault underneath the old base where Altair was.
Yeah, and
Revelations kind of splits the story between Ezio and Altair.
Yeah, which is what I was about to say. And in this vault, he finds Altair. Like,
yeah.
He's dead, but he finds Altair. Now, at this point, Ezio knows that Altair is related to him, I think.
I believe it is Ezio reliving Altair's memories.
He remembers Altair going into the vault, but then when he goes down, doesn't he say, like, he calls him grandfather or something?
Definitely not grandfather. I think Altair's alone.
No, I don't mean grandfather as in, like, literally my father's father. I mean grandfather as in an old dude who's related to me.
I don't remember. Again, it's been quite a while since I played these games.
So Ezio finds Altair in his monk assassin outfit, holding this piece of Eden. And Ezio gains that power, and he gains understanding, and he speaks to Desmond.
Yeah.
Is Desmond awake at this point?
He's just about coming out of the coma at the end of the game.
So,
like right after like Ezio talks to him, he comes out of the coma.
what does Ezio say to Desmond? I don't remember.
I don't quite.
Let me look it up.
I believe, they find something out about through Altair and Ezio. They find something out about the towers, these giant essentially pylons designed to diffuse the sun's energy when the magnetic field shifted. That the precursors built, but they'd never finish them in time to save their own race.
Here we go. Ezio, another artifact? No, you will stay here. I have seen enough for one life, which is reasonable. The apple activates. Ezio, Desmond? Desmond, he's talking to me? Ezio, I heard your name once before, Desmond, a long time ago, and now it lingers in my mind like an image from an old dream. I do not know where you are or by what means you can hear me, but I know you are listening. Ezio disarms. I have lived my life as best I could, not knowing its purpose, but drawn forward like a moth to a distant moon. And here at last I discover a strange truth, that I am only a conduit for a message that eludes my understanding. Who are we? Who have been so blessed to share our stories like this, to speak across centuries? Maybe you will answer all of these questions I have asked. Maybe you will be the one to make all the suffering worth something in the end. Now listen. Jupiter, do you know me, Cypher? Can you see me? Jupiter spots Desmond. Ah, there you are. Good. A strange
That's
place.
right. That's right. Through Ezio, Jupiter talks with Desmond, who is another precursor AI, the third one we've encountered so far.
Ah, there you are. Good. A strange place, this nexus of mine. I am not used to the calculations. That has always been Minerva's domain. Minerva's the bad one, isn't she?
I think it's Juno. I don't remember.
Juno and Minerva are the big ones, but I don't remember which one is the bad one.
I'm looking over.
Minerva is the bad one. Okay, thank you, Brightman.
All right.
I see you still have many questions. Who were we? What became of us? What do we desire of you? You have your answers. Only listen and I will tell you how. A projection of the solar system appears. Both before the end and after we sought to save the world. We built vaults within which to work, each dedicated to a different method of salvation. They were placed underground to avoid the war which raged above, and also as a precaution should we fail in our efforts. Each vault's knowledge was transmitted into a single place. It was our duty, mine, Minerva's, and Juno's, to sort and sample all that was collected. We chose those solutions which held the most promise, and devoted ourselves to testing their merits. 6 we tried in succession, each more encouraging than the last, but none worked, and then the world ended. The earth shook for days, the fires burned for weeks, and when the ash had settled, less than 10,000 of your kind still lived, your kind being humans. And far fewer of ours, referring to the precursors, but we carried on together to rebuild and to renew. Desmond observes the passage of time until the modern day appears in this nexus. Listen, you must go here, to the place where we labored and lost. Take my words. Pass them from your head into your hands. This is how you will open the way, but be warned. Much still remains in flux, and I do not know how things will end, either in my time or yours. Ezio retires from being an assassin and allows Desmond to access the Nexus of Time, where he encounters Jupiter. There you go.
Okay.
So, he doesn't speak to Ezio. He doesn't speak to Ezio in the sense of they have a conversation. He speaks to Ezio, Desmond. I said Ezio like 4 times. He speaks to Desmond in the way that he's talking to himself. The apple activates and he goes, okay, the last thing here said that your name was Desmond. I assume you are gonna get this message. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but apparently I'm not supposed to. I'm just your eyes. So, yeah, I hope that whatever the fuck I've done has helped you. I've tried my best to be what you need. And then Jupiter appears and is like, hey, Ezio, you did the thing. I'll take over. And then that whole scene happens. Honestly, Ezio, like, I respect Ezio from that scene. Like, that's some dutiful samurai shit's what that is. And then Desmond wakes up in the Animus at the end of Assassin's Creed Revelations and is like,
I know what to do.
I know what to do and the world is going to end.
Yeah.
Now,
And at this point, they also apparently have figured out where to go, and also Desmond's father is there.
yes, they're just like, wait, why are you here? And we don't actually get an answer to that at the end of Assassin's Creed Revelations.
I mean,
Ironic.
Desmond's father was also an assassin.
Yes. Now, I didn't play 3. I don't know fucking nothing about 3, but let me be absolutely clear. The 5th game in the main series is called Assassin's Creed 3.
Mm-hmm.
We're good. We're gonna go somewhere with those. Now, it's generally considered... Excuse me. Before Unity came out, 3 was considered the weakest title. I don't know much about it, except it takes place in the American Revolution.
Yeah.
And you play a half Native American?
Half Native American.
Half
yes.
Native
His
American
father was
dude
British.
named Connor.
At least that's the name that his mentor gives him because he can't pronounce his Native American name.
Now, Connor is
Like he's literally like, I ain't even gonna try to pronounce that. Your name's Connor now.
now Connor is distantly related to Ezio, but it's so far in the past that it doesn't fucking matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I know nothing about 3, so feel free.
Most of 3 is essentially behind the scenes of the American Revolution. It also centers around Connor's father, Haytham Kenway, who is a former assassin turned Templar.
That is a name that you need to be aware of. Kenway. Kenway is very important.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to that. So, what happens to Desmond in 3?
They are essentially trying to activate this pylon in order to save the world in 3. That's their main objective, and they're traveling like across the world, going into like Abstergo fortresses in order to recover things that they need to power this thing.
Remember what I said about Abstergo being like a modern day Shadowrun multinational, multi-billion dollar corporation? Yeah, they have fortresses and black sites and paramilitary units and all of this other shit.
Mm-hmm.
When do we meet Sean?
Assassin's Creed 2.
We meet Sean in 2. Okay. So
Yeah, he's just one of the people that's helping out the Abstergo double agent girl.
the dude who wrote the codex in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, the snarky dude with the glasses, is a main character in Assassin's Creed. He's there from more or less the beginning.
Lucy is her name. That I was
Lucy.
saying Rachel. It's Lucy. All right.
So they eventually get to this pylon,
Mm-hmm.
and they activate it and save the world, and Desmond dies?
I have not finished 3, but according to this wiki I'm reading, yes,
I
he
can't-
sacrificed himself.
Yeah, I know he sacrifices himself. I don't remember if he dies or gets sucked into the Shadow Realm.
Desmond learns that the assassins eventually buried the key to the Grand Temple's barrier outside the Davenport homestead.
And activating this pylon stops... It's something weird. It's something really weird. It either stops the sun from going supernova, or it diverts a comet, or it's something celestial made of fire.
What happened? What was supposed to happen essentially is, you know, the whole pseudoscience thing about the magnetic field shifting polarity, causing solar rays to, you know,
That was
penetrate
it.
through the magnetic field for a short amount of time and wreaking havoc.
Solar rays, that's what it was. I knew it was
Yeah.
something celestial and flaming. But Desmond activates the pylon, and everything is fine. The magnetic field and the ozone layer and all of that good stuff are sorted and situated, but it kills him. And there's this moment of, what do we do now? He was our link to this Eden shit, and Abstergo is still out there. And Like, do we know from that point? Like,
This is the farthest my knowledge extends,
okay,
unfortunately.
so I don't fully understand what happens between 3 and 4, but I can tell you what happens in 4, and this is where I need to take over a little
Um,
bit.
let me see here. There was something about here. Post-mortem and legacy. Desmond's body was eventually discovered by Abstergo several hours after his death, and an immediate autopsy was performed with various DNA samples being extracted in the process. Case
Okay.
Fisher, the leader of Abstergo Sample Recovery Unit 3, noticed that aside from a severely burned arm and fused bones in the right hand, Desmond's body was in good condition. Upon completion of the autopsy, Desmond's body was removed while his bag and personal items were collected for further analysis. His genetic memories were uploaded to the Abstergo cloud.
There it is. Okay. So that fills in some blanks. So Desmond's memories are uploaded to the Abstergo cloud, and 4 is a fucking trip. And so, if you guys remember, what is cloud gaming? They took that. What is cloud gaming was from E3 2012, I think.
Mm.
Um, and in Assassin's Creed 4, they took that and they made it larger than life. So Desmond's arc effectively is finished. And Assassin's Creed 4, aka Black Flag, starts with your first day at work. You are a, a corporate drone, basically, and you work for a virtual reality game dev house that is a subsidiary of Abstergo. Yeah, I'm serious. And you go to work as a game dev. And you get assigned an Animus and coding software. And you're meant to make a virtual tour of the Caribbean with some gameplay, and basically you're meant to make a pirate game. And your job is quoted to you by your manager: find someone cool and get as much data about that person as you can, and we'll make a game out of it.
And hopefully find some pieces of Eden in the process.
They don't tell you that. They do not tell you that at the beginning of Black Flag.
All right.
At the beginning,
Literally just reading up on a wiki on the Sample 17 project.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like what they're doing is they're using Facebook and all of the personal data gathered. They can't call it Facebook from everyone around the world. They're offering clinics to people with diseases and like eugenics programs for babies. And it all comes with a free like wellness scan. And they're taking all of this genetic stuff from the world. Like Abstergo has gone big with this, and they're compiling it, and they're making air quote games out of this. And that's the project. That's the Subject 17 project. And the player gets this pirate assignment, and in looking through all of these memories and looking around the Caribbean, they find this dude named Edward Kenway. And Edward Kenway is he's a former American turned Caribbean pirate, scallywag. He's a scallywag in the purest form. He's out for himself. He's out for money and women and booze, and to give a gigantic flaming middle finger to England. That's pretty much Edward. There's one point in the story where an assassin comes to Edward and is like, "You need to follow this code. You need to be, you need to help us protect these, like, you have a great responsibility. And Edward basically goes, fuck that, I'm a pirate. It's great. Edward gives zero fucks. Edgy Draco, welcome on in. Veritan Gaming, welcome on in. Edgy Draco says, oh, you mean like the free genetic history, just send us some DNA? Exactly like that, yes.
Edward is also the father of Hatham Kenway.
And Edward gives no fucks. Like, he's out for all of his stuff. And he stumbles on the Eden shit. Now, what's interesting is Doppelgammon, welcome on in. What's interesting is he sorry, I'm reading chat. What's great about Edward is, ignoring Edward. What's great about 4 is the player character, the Abstergo employee, starts to smell a rat. Like, there's some weird stuff happening around the office. Some people are going missing. Some people are like acting weird when they come out of the Animus, like, and then there's some people who are like really secret, and you find a clue about the piece of Eden, and they being Abstergo, like, it's red alert. They're just like, oh, like, and it changes from making a game to, you need to find this stuff right now or we're gonna fucking kill your family, or something like that. And it's just like, what? And then the assassins raid Abstergo. It's great. So Edward stumbles on a piece of Eden because you're a pirate and you don't give a shit about the assassins. And the AI basically is like, no, bitch, you are an assassin. And it completely changes Edward's mentality. And he becomes like this. He becomes as big of an assassin as Ezio, as we find out later. But the assassins pull you out of Abstergo. I don't remember who you are. I'm not sure of your name, but you are the person that is doing the Animus thing in 4, Syndicate, and Unity, I think. And you see more of the inner workings of the assassins.
It
Go ahead.
doesn't look like said employee has a name.
Okay. So, really quick, I want to jump off of this and talk and catch up with chat for a minute. Doppelgammon says, this is nice to listen to while playing games. That's what we're for. This is setting the stage, getting the broader fiction ready for Assassin's Creed Origins, or whatever big game that we play. Now,
Apparently they just call him Noob.
nice. Now, Doppelgammon, when you first came in the first time, I asked you how to say your name, and you said Doppelgammon. So that's why I've been calling you that. If you prefer Defuck Gaming, I will call you that. No worries at all. Anyway, completely lost my train of thought. Right, so they pull the player character out of Abstergo, and I don't remember if they go and get Edward's piece of Eden, or if they just raid Abstergo. At this point, the war, air quote war, is ramping up between the assassins and the Templars, the Abstergo Templars, in the States. Now, for those of you who are here for the Assassin's Creed Syndicate playthrough, you know that, like, Sean and company are, like, blowing shit up, and there's this big modern fight in London at the end of Syndicate. And I don't want to go into it too much, but basically, there's this really cool thing in Syndicate. And Syndicate bleeds into Black Flag because the twins, Jacob and Evie Fry, find Edward's mansion. That's the most important thing. Edward has Hatham. Hatham betrays Edward and joins the Templar, and Edward disappeared. He had a house in England. He had all these artifacts, and then he fucking vanishes. But one of the things he had was what he found in Black Flag, which was a shroud, I think. The shroud is really important in Syndicate. What this thing does is it heals grievous injuries and brings you back to life. I believe it is a direct reference to the Shroud of Turin. And there's an AI in it. While it is repairing the body and the soul of the person who was grievously injured, it is awake and aware in their body and communicating with them. So what Abstergo did when they got this shroud for years is they would wrap some poor like Templar intern in the shroud and just shoot them in the head. I'm not kidding. Like that's one of the major plots of Assassin's Creed Syndicate is they just wrap these Templars in the shroud and shoot them in the head. And they have months-long conversations with this AI, and they write everything down that it says, and they learn a lot about Juno and Minerva and all this stuff. But what's relevant is this starts the Templars on the path of, oh, we need to get all this stuff because it's fucking awesome. When I say starts them on the path, I'm talking about the Templars in, like before World War One, like, way back, did the Shroud of Turin thing. And the long story short is Jacob and Evie are not related to Edward. They're not related to Connor. Excuse me. But they have this witnessing of Edward's mansion, Hatham's betrayal, and this vault where the shroud is laid, underneath Buckingham Palace.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole thing is they're fighting the Templars and they get the shroud, and then the modern assassins and the modern Templars fight in the same place to get the shroud. And I think ultimately the assassins win. But then you find out that the Templars, aside from collecting everyone's genetic memories and all of this crazy ass stuff that they also have cloning facilities. And they have, I think, at least one pet precursor. There's a straight up precursor that lives in an Abstergo Black site. And it's just like, what? And that's the end of Syndicate. Now, Syndicate, I think, takes place after Unity. Or just before Unity. I don't know fucking anything about Unity.
Nor do I.
But all of this bleeds into Origins in a really weird way. So, in the same way that Abstergo was creating games to get Edward Kenway's stuff and pirate shit, Abstergo is also doing, wait for it, Egyptology. They're sending archaeologists out to get genetic memories of Egyptians, to get history, what they think is getting history. And what Abstergo is quietly doing is looking for more assassin shit, more Apple of Eden shit. And so enter Origins, where we play a lady thing. I don't remember her name, and I will look up her name. In fact, I will look it up right now. Assassin's Creed Origins Abstergo lady. What is her name? I'm not looking for the wife game. I'm looking for...
I'm looking at a synopsis of Unity right now, and it looks like the same person who was looking through Jacob and Evie Fry's. Also looked through Arnaud Dorian in order to find the sage Francois Thomas Germain.
Okay. It takes place in France, and it's not very good.
Mm-hmm.
Layla. Her name is Layla. So- Layla is an Abstergo employee. Prince Ali, welcome on in. It's good to see you. Layla is not supposed to be in Egypt. Layla, like, steals an Animus. She steals a jeep, and she's like, I want to go do Egyptology. And Abstergo is like, you're supposed to be not in Egypt. And she goes anyway with, like, an Abstergo fixer in, like, her headset. And she does, like, solo archaeological research on Bayek. Now, a couple of things that we need to talk about regarding the Animus right now. You need a medical team on staff to use an Animus, because it's still not completely safe. And if you use it too long, you start melding with
Yeah.
the person who you're reliving.
Yeah, you start experiencing essentially, ghosts.
And
Yeah, your DNA genetic memories start blending with your own memories.
yes, it's not just ghost. Like you do in a weird way start to become that person. And that actually happens to Layla in Origins, which is why I bring that up. And so Layla,
Like Desmond was experiencing that going through Ezio's memories quite a lot.
mm-hmm. And so Layla goes out by herself, which is extremely dangerous. She hooks the Animus up directly to the corpse of Bayek. And I'm not going to talk too much about the historical plot of around Bayek right now, but suffice to say, she's not supposed to be doing any of this, especially by herself.
Yeah,
And
she's literally, it says right here, hoping to find any relevant information that would secure her a position in the company's Animus project. Layla decides to relive both Bayek and Aya's memories, using her modified Animus without telling her superiors.
yeah. And one thing leads to another, and very, very bad things happen, which we will talk about, like, when Origins actually happens, because that's spoilery. So that's what you need to know going into Assassin's Creed Origins. Layla is an Abstergo employee who is in Egypt doing Egyptology through the Animus in the same way that Noob is doing projects in game development for Abstergo. Now, there's some history that is involved with this, and I need to see if our local historian is available. And it doesn't look like she is. Which is a shame, because the reason we started late was to try to catch our local resident historian here, because there's another story to Assassin's Creed Origins, because that's how these games work. There's the through thread of the modern stuff, but then each one of these also takes place in its own time period. So if you guys will give me just a second, I'm gonna see if I can't grab her, and it doesn't look like I'm gonna be able to, so that's a shame. Hopefully she'll come in before the end, but Assassin's Creed Origin takes place in Ptolemaic Egypt. Cleopatra, Mark Antony, Caesar Augustus, I think. That whole time period, that takes place in Assassin's Creed Origins. And
Got the synopsis up, so hopefully I can help a little bit.
And I don't want to talk about Bayek's story, but what you need to know is at this time there was a melding of Egyptian cultures and Roman cultures, and there's this big civil war historically in Egypt.
Yeah, recently deposed Cleopatra begins marshaling loyalist forces to launch a counter coup against Ptolemy, and frequent incursions into the kingdom by the Roman Republic under the command of Julius Caesar.
Julius Caesar, thank you. And so you're working with Cleopatra to overthrow Ptolemy, and then, like, at this point, the Assassin's Order is not created. You are just a dude. You're an important dude. You're as important as a non-noble can be. You you are. I don't remember what Bayek is called. It's not champion.
A respected Medjay in charge of protecting the Siwa Oasis.
Medjay, thank you. For those of you who don't know, Medjay are. It's a very common thread in any like desert fantasy or even like reality. Like Medjay are a big deal. Somebody like rocks up and they're like, "I'm a Medjay." In a movie or a
Paramilitary
book.
police force is what the Assassin's Creed wiki says.
Yeah. Prince Ali says he's like an advisor. No, he's like a protector, dog. He's not a bureaucrat. He's like, there's jackals invading. I'm gonna go fucking kill them. There's bandits invading. I'm gonna go fucking kill them. Somebody lost their dog. I'm gonna go and find it. Like he's a cop, if anything, and he's damn good at it. But some stuff happens that
Medjay were highly esteemed and perceived as the very symbol of true honor, courage, and duty.
Yeah, he's Homeland Security. There you go, Veritan. That's a good example. And some stuff happens to Bayek personally that we'll talk about. And it's a big open world game. But suffice to say, there's going to be a lot of Greek overtones, Roman overtones in like half the game. And that's historically accurate. Like there's Roman colonies and Roman influence all throughout Egypt at this point in time. And Bayek is a holdover from the previous era. He's good at his job, but there's this mixing of Roman soldiers and legionaries and a couple of Medjay, and it doesn't really gel. There's some like Bayek seems obsolete. As much of a badass as he is, but he's a little bit. Medjay were an elite Egyptian paramilitary police force. Yep. He seems a little bit primitive. There's a couple of times that Bayek will do something like ritualistic, and it seems very barbarous. Not necessarily that he's brutalizing a person, but it definitely seems more barbarous and superstitious than the Romans, which are very clean and neat and ordered and all of this stuff, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it does set the tone of Bayek's place in the world very well. And we know that the next game is taking place in Greece, so that's pretty cool. Go ahead, you were going to say something?
Our historian says she just got home.
Oh, perfect. Can she jump in? Facta says, the Romans, while having an outward appearance of being very neat and clean and ordered, they also did lots of pagan things. Sure. But I'm just saying, like, normally. And now our resident historian has arrived, with fucking perfect timing.
Resident historian now?
Yeah, you're the resident historian.
I thought I was just the audio gal.
I mean, yeah, so my audio gal who sets up soundboards and things like that for me.
So you're welcome and I'm leader.
And all kinds of other great stuff. Happens to be a passionate historian in her free time. FoxyX22, welcome on into the cast. You didn't hurt yourself getting home, did you?
No.
Okay.
Thankfully, my mom was helping me with the viewings, so she was able to basically give me a ride.
Awesome.
Oh, I technically did briefly get home sooner, but it was get home, grab a piece of mail, get my mom to take me over to the registry so I could get a new ID. Because mine is 2 years expired.
Mine was 5 years expired, so I'm with you. I recently got it updated a couple weeks ago.
And the guy's like, I need a current ID for legal reasons. Like, I will get one of those. Oh, God.
Same. Like, I got an email from Humble, and they were like, hey, you get paid for the referral link, but we need an ID. And I was like, fuck. So, speaking of Humble Monthly rolled over, so you guys can check that out if you want. Anyway, so you were just in time. We just finished talking about the Desmond stuff, and we were just starting to talk about Egypt in the Ptolemaic era. So, let's start with the Magi. What do you know about the Magi?
I don't know as much about Egypt, but I do know all of the. I know more about all of the stuff that would be coming over from the Roman side of things.
Okay, fair
Like
enough.
why Caesar is there and
Okay,
such.
so that was going to be my next question. So, okay, fair enough. Why the fuck is Julius Caesar in Egypt?
It comes from the civil wars he was a big part of. He was there's no way I can simplify the whole Egypt or Caesar versus Pompey thing. Basically, they disagreed. Pompey had the backing of the Senate. Caesar eventually was like, "No, I'm not going to stand for this. I'm not going to let myself just get, killed for crimes that everybody else does, but I'm the only one that brags about it. So suddenly I'm the bad guy." And started a huge civil war, and it started out just in the Italian peninsula. Then it spread. Then Caesar chased Pompey's armies over to Greece and kept winning. Then Pompey fled across the Mediterranean and got to Alexandria, where people under the new one of the co-rulers, Ptolemy the 12th, I believe, ruling alongside Cleopatra, got a hold of him, and his advisors were like, you should kill him, and it'll make Caesar like you more. It didn't. And then Caesar decided, you know what? I'm just going to get myself involved in the whole situation anyways.
So, it is not inaccurate to say that Caesar is in Egypt to get some tail. However, that only happens about halfway through the game.
At first, he's just there to try to make a new ally with Egypt. Then after a while, once he sees Cleopatra, he's like, "Okay, I want that. I want to tap that."
Yeah. A couple of things that people are going to find critical about Assassin's Creed Origin is Cleopatra is overly promiscuous and also a huge bitch. Both of these things are historically accurate.
Yep.
Like,
I mean, as soon as Caesar made it clear, no, I will not recognize, the bastard son that you have from the Caesarian. She was basically like, all right, fuck you. Then I'm going to start sleeping with Mark Antony instead.
yeah, like, Cleopatra is not a nice lady. However,
Oh, no.
Bayek sides with Cleopatra out of duty. Bayek is across the board in this game. Bayek is honorable and true and noble and good and just, and he is walked all over by the Romans and the Egyptians. Like, he is a doormat. His wife, oh god. So, okay, there's this whole naval thing in the Mediterranean, the north of Egypt, during this game, with I don't remember if he's Italian or if he's Turkish, but with some kind of pirates that you never hear about. This type of pirate, is that a thing?
If it's what you never hear about this type of pirates.
Well, you're a historian.
Do you have a name? It's most likely Turkish because the Italians didn't mess with the water that much.
Okay, then yeah.
Fun fact: the majority of the Punic Wars was Rome just being like, yeah. The majority of the first Punic War was Rome being like, yeah, let's try this naval thing, and then just being like, oh, our ships are sinking already.
So
what do you mean we need to put all the boards along the bottom of the boat? Why would we need that?
So
Use holes. Let the water flow out. That's just as fast as it flows in.
So,
Italians weren't good with water.
while Bayek is trying to save Egypt from a civil war and get information for his own personal quest, which we'll talk about during the game, his wife who is also a Medjai, which was that a thing? Were women given like jobs in ancient Egypt?
Presumably, I mean, Cleopatra was outright named co-ruler.
I mean, she was
It
also
wasn't.
born into it.
Yeah, but Egypt was based off is one of the Hellenistic kingdoms, and they were fairly egalitarian.
Okay, so Bayek's wife, Anna Aya, something like that. I don't remember her name. Um, goes north at Cleopatra's demand, and she joins this Greek, Turkish, I don't even know, pirate crew. It's a bunch of white dudes with interesting accents. And you
That's like
realize,
the majority of characters.
right? You realize that Aya is like the antithesis of Bayek. Bayek is like, I must be right and pure and honorable and you know, I must show my enemies quarter and all of this stuff. And Aya is like she's making like sex jokes and she's like drunk all the time and she's like shouting down the pirate, like the pirate captain. He's like, what is a woman doing on deck? And she's like, doing better than your men, that's what, fucker. It's just like, whoa, woman. Like, she's great. But she doesn't have a major part in this game. And I just wondered if there was like, wow, during the Ptolemaic Wars, was there like a pirate thing going on in the Mediterranean, like a big deal? Is that a thing?
Not that I can remember, but there's always been piracy on the Mediterranean. One of the that's how Rome got into Greece in the first place. Was, hey, you've got pirates that keep raiding us from this area. We're just gonna, clear them out and leave. And then after they cleared them out, they're like, you know what? We like this place. We're gonna stay. And the Greeks are like, no, stop, no.
So like for everything good about Bayek, his wife also has good shit, but in the complete opposite direction. So expect a lot of comedy from Aya, or whatever the fuck her name is.
Aya.
Yeah, Aya.
It is Aya. Okay, Aya and Bayek. It's confusing in my brain. It doesn't sound right.
Sort of like how Avatar had Iroh and Roku, like that. Suddenly you're saying no, it's Zuko and Roku.
Yeah,
Zuko. It's
Zuko.
Like suddenly you're calling him Ruko and Zoku.
Yeah.
Like, no, I make them so similar.
So credit to Ubi. This is like this and Syndicate are like, let's have female characters, and they do it better. And then the new one is like you can play the full game as a lady, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But what do we need to know about the Ptolemaic Wars?
That I don't know that much about the Ptolemaic Wars beyond how they affected Rome.
Well, Well,
And
I'm going to tell you this: the end of Assassin's Creed Origin. This is not a spoiler. Takes place in Rome, so that's fine.
They caused enough destabilization for like Rome to basically be like, you know what, we're gonna get involved here and casually slip more and more of ourselves into this. And it
Are we
basically
talking about Julius Caesar and Cleopatra again?
No, we are not.
Well,
Although it presumably happened repeatedly.
Yes. Who are the major players in Rome at this time? We've got Mark Antony, Julius Caesar, Cleopatra, Emperor
Ptolemy the 13th.
Yeah, Emperor Ptolemy the 13th. Is that it? Assumably there's other people involved.
There's a few others that are more on the hidden side, such as the famed Brutus.
Right.
He was one of the senators. The Senate itself was sort of a power
An entity, yeah.
Especially
Brutus.
once the famed assassination took place.
Brutus, whose dagger was the ultimate weapon in Brotherhood.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Wasn't his armor what you got in Brotherhood too?
Yeah, you got his armor and his dagger, which were the ultimate weapon in armor.
so question regarding Rome.
Okay.
At some point in the game, I believe Julius Caesar goes, "Alright, we're just gonna march our armies into Egypt and see how far we can get." Is that a thing?
That wasn't too uncommon for them. No, that's how they did with Macedonia and then later Greece. And
Okay.
and like what is present day Turkey. They're just like, we're gonna just see how far we can go. Hey, it worked. We're gonna just do it again and again and again.
I distinctly remember, because I researched this game, as I always do. Bayek gets knocked out on the battlefield, and when he comes to, he's in like a Roman camp, and he's like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, we're in like he basically he passes out on the battlefield because he gets clocked, in Chicago, and when he wakes up, Chicago is owned by Canada, and he's like, "What the fuck just happened?" And
Yeah, that wouldn't have been uncommon.
okay, so that is historically accurate. Okay.
This was during a time when basically the borders of your nation were what you made them. Can you extend your forces up to this point? Yes, then that's your border.
So
I mean, that's how the whole let's send our armies in and just see how far we can get is also how Caesar conquered Gaul, which is present day France. He was just like, let's just take the legions they gave me and let's see how far I can get. Hey, I got a long ways. Augustus, hey, let's take these armies I have and let's see how far across Britain I can get. I barely even got to the shoreline. Let's not do that again.
so yeah, there's a lot of that. So a lot of the criticisms that I had for Origins, it sounds like they're historically accurate.
Yeah, stuff like just being like, obviously there would be a declaration of war, but it's pretty much just, there's no like, you have to take this point to take all of this territory, like civilization or anything. It's just, no, whatever your people take, they take. If you declare war on Egypt, whatever you conquer, and you can say this is now ours, and whatever they agree to letting you keep in the peace treaty would be yours.
Cool. I understand that a lot of Egyptian ruins are like matte brown and not thing, but you'll notice a lot of color in this game, and that's because, and this is something I find really interesting, Egyptians used a lot of paint. Like a lot of paint. And paint doesn't do well in sandstorms.
Shocking.
So, like, you're going to see the Sphinx, and it's colorful, and it's cool. But what I think you will find very interesting, Aaron, is you can... Go ahead.
Yeah, weren't like all the pyramids like originally painted white?
Mm-hmm.
Or is that a myth?
They had murals on them, and they were colorful. I don't think they were painted white, no.
Yeah.
We can't know for certain, because that's the pyramids were done during the... Anything related to the pyramids beyond, like, vague hieroglyphics would have all been lost with the Bronze Age collapse.
Yep.
Which is something historians still don't understand. It's just suddenly everything fell apart in, like, 700, and we don't know why.
So... You can go into the pyramids in this game, and you can see how they were, like, mazes inside, and you can, like, solve, like, traps and shit. And you don't get, like, an AK, Lara Croft, but you do get some, like, really cool history. And I think we're going to be doing some pyramid
I'll
exploration.
definitely be tuning into as much of this as I can.
It's pretty awesome. I'm excited for this game. Is there anything else we need to know for sure about this period of history?
Just that after a certain... Pretty much everybody's working at, like, breakneck pace, and they're not planning. They're reacting or acting on instinct. There's not any, like, we're going to do this. Like, for example, the assassination of Caesar should have happened much differently. They had no plans to fill the power of the vacuum left when he died. It was just, Caesar's dead, and now everything should go back to the way it was before him, right? And then suddenly his adopted nephew, Octavius, the future Augustus, and Mark Antony are like, you know what, we're gonna fill that vacuum instead. That cool with you guys?
No, get fucked.
And it's like, well, by the time anybody realized, wait, no, we don't want that, it was too late. It was another civil war.
Did Ptolemy try to keep Caesar and Cleopatra apart historically?
Not that I don't. Well, the first Ptolemy, yes. The Ptolemy that was her first co-ruler, yes, because he was very much like he was trying to push her out entirely, basically, and actually
So
almost had her sentenced to death.
that would be Ptolemy the 13th then.
Yeah. Also, give me a second.
So yeah, so that's a major plot of this game, and I wanted to make sure that was historically accurate. So it sounds like, compared to, Unity, and even arguably Syndicate, this game is trying to follow history better, which I am completely okay with.
Yeah, I had a lot of issues playing Unity when it's like, oh yeah, you're a dude who, spoilers, very much spoilers. Here be spoilers for anybody who hasn't played Unity. Your guy is
we're on setting
accused.
the stage. We give spoilers. Go on.
Your guy was accused of murdering a noble who lived in the friggin' Palace of Versailles, and now he's locked in the Bastille. Like 17 people were locked in the Bastille when it fell, and the majority of them were people where it's like, okay, my brother does strange things. Here's money. Just put him in the Bastille and just get him out of the public eye, please. It was very much just, we're bribing you so you take them out of the public eye so people don't realize, oh, right, they have that crazy cousin who did weird things to a chicken once. Like, when it actually happened during the French Revolution, they were disappointed because it's like, yeah, we're going to have all these horrible people who are like political prisoners, and it's like, there's 10 people. And half of them are like, no, I don't want to leave. This is comfortable here.
So, I don't want to get too much on the French Revolution because this is set in Egypt, but like,
this is set about almost 2,000 years earlier.
Yeah, like the French, I feel like, historically speaking, I'm not talking about anyone modern French, I'm not talking about Canadian French, I'm not talking about Creole French, I'm talking about historically speaking. All countries, historically speaking, throw tantrums from time to time. I mean, I'm assuming that's a given, right?
Yeah.
I feel like when France does it, they specifically, like, when they throw a tantrum, they, like, headbutt the wall and bloody their nose because they know that it will upset their parents. Like, whenever France throws a tantrum, like, it is violent and bloody and horrific compared to pretty much anywhere but America, and it's just like, okay, civil unrest, that's policy change, great. France is like, give me what I want or I will kill you all, and then they do that.
Yeah, others they negotiate, there's back and forth, there's offers and counter offers. France is like, we want this. Well, how about this? No, we want the first thing. Well, what about this? No, I'm gonna stab you now instead.
But thankfully that has absolutely nothing to do with Assassin's Creed Origins. And so, we've been going for...
No, instead it's Roman people shouting at each other and being like, here's my offer, here's my counter offer. My counter offer to your counter is a stab.
Meanwhile, Cleopatra is just in the background trying to secure Egypt for herself and... call it what it is.
Try to secure... Almost, one of the things she did with her bastard son Caesarion was she was trying to basically unify the two kingdoms of Rome and Egypt under one person.
Yeah.
Make it so that it's like, hey, my son is the heir to both, so now both are unified. Yeah, how did that work out for you, Cleo?
Yeah. So
it went from being its own kingdom to just a mere province of Rome.
I like Cleo in this game, though. She's like, there's one thing there's one scene in this game where there's two priestesses and they're doing something. They're either poisoning. They're either poisoning the local population. I don't think it's that one, or they're using cheap perfume on the dead, and the graves are stinking. I think it's that one.
Presumably, it'll be the second one.
And
Just to be like, no, our dead don't stink. We're awesome in Egypt. Yeah.
and Cleo finds out, and she goes, "Kill them both." And Bayek is like, "Wait, what? No! Like, it's a couple of kids who ran out of money." And they're like, and Cleo was like, "Kill them both. I am the Empress. Do as I say." And it's just like, it's great.
Yeah,
it's so good.
She was very much one of those people that's like, here's some power. And she's just like, I'm just going to let this go straight to my head.
Straight to my head, yep. That is shown heavily in this game. So it sounds like they do Cleo very well.
Oh, yes. From what I've heard, they do her and seen that they've done her very well.
So that should be fun. We will be picking up Assassin's Creed Origins on Monday. This is the part of setting the stage where we bring up questions from the audience. If you guys have any questions about the Anima storyline, if you have any questions about Egyptian history, if you have any questions about the stream, now is the great time to bring them forward. Days like this don't usually go very long. So, there's that information. If you guys want it, the floor is open. Bromanic says, will you be using the Bathhouse skin? Probably not, no.
I like Ferritin's comment. Option A, meet my demands. Option B, I stab the shit out of you.
Yep. Veritin says, Kit, did you watch the flop of a movie? I did not. I don't much care for video game tie-in movies because they're almost never good. Bromanic says, rip my dreams. Bright, I do a channel focused on immersion and world building and broader fiction. Why in the fuck, being a regular on my channel, would your dream be me doing something the opposite of that? Come on,
right?
dude. I might use the Desert Viper outfit. I'm not decided yet. It looks pretty cool, though.
I have not seen much of Origin. At some point, I'll get it.
I mean, you can stop by on Monday.
At some point, I'll catch up with the entire series. I need to finish 3 and get my hands on Black Flag.
Black Flag is good. Origins... A lot of people are saying Origins is a reboot of the series. I liked Syndicate, but it had its warts. But Origins, they're saying, is a return to form. And then the new game, which the name is escaping me, looks really good. So we'll
Odyssey.
see. Yeah. Veritan says, I actually enjoyed the film. It flopped because they tried too hard to attract people who didn't know shit about the anime system. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's typically why those movies fail. I have never actually finished the first one just because it frustrates me so much when it's like, I'm just going to casually walk down the street. Oh, and the guards are all chasing after me, literally just while walking.
Yep.
Not running, just walking.
Everything I hear about Black Flag is, hey, remember that sailing mechanic in 3 that everyone loved? Yeah, we made an entire game based on that.
Yeah, and that sailing mechanic is back in Origins, and it shows up in Odyssey, and there is a dev house in Ubisoft Singapore that is making a Monster Hunter style game around that sailing mechanic. So that's pretty cool.
I will say one thing I liked about Black Flag was the fact that you weren't some hardened, trained assassin raised from birth to do it. You're some guy who came across an assassin while you were raiding his ship, and are like, this looks like cool clothes. I'm going to put them on. Oh, there's a letter. Oh, the letter says to go to this place. Okay.
Yeah, like straight up, there's a scene with Edward Kenway. I mentioned this earlier, but I'll say it to you, Foxy. There's a scene where Edward meets another assassin, and they're like, you must follow this code. Like it's the honor of the assassins. We must follow. And Edward goes, fuck that! I'm a pirate.
Yeah, he wasn't an assassin. He was a pirate that found an assassin's outfit.
Yep.
And it just so happened to be an assassin that was a traitor that was selling secrets to the Templars. And he found his letter and all the stuff, and he's like, "Well, I'll just continue the transaction, get myself that money instead." And then afterwards, he's like, "Oh shit! Lots of people are dying because of me. Oops.
Yeah, oops.
Better try to fix it."
Well,
Yep, you gotta get going. Have a
Yep.
great day at work, Vader. Thanks for helping out as usual, and we hope to see you on
always-
Monday for more Origins.
always glad to be a part.
Shout out to Journeyman Vader Keepers! Put the spotlight on his Twitch channel if you please, because Vader is awesome. Aaron, I think it's about time for us to wrap up as well. You know, I hope you guys enjoyed setting the stage. These streams never go very long. It's just providing context for the crazy ass shit that we're going to be showing soon. I'll be back tomorrow with...
Assassin's Creed has a huge backstory, and that's not even counting the history part.
Right. And for Odyssey, which we'll probably be playing, Aaron, would you like to come back and talk about Greece for a while?
I'd have to do some research on the period, but sure.
I mean, it's not going to be out until 2019, so you've got time.
So I've got a year.
Yeah. But for now, it's time for me to go ahead and wrap up. If nobody else has any questions, feel free to ask any questions. I will be back tomorrow for... No, never mind. No, I was informed last night. I won't be back tomorrow. Powder Keg will not be going tomorrow due to a scheduling conflict with the GM, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. I will be back on Monday for the start of ACO. So that should be cool there. We're going to set some stuff up. I will have to leave on a half day on Monday because I have, and I cannot believe I'm about to say these words on stream, I have a recording session to go to on Monday. So that's kind of fucking awesome, right? And so I'm going to be doing that on Monday, but we'll go ahead and start ACO, which I'm hoping is a lot of fun. Hopefully my computer can run it. It should be able to. Hearthstone is awesome, but this game is a computer breaker. So we'll see. For now, I think we're gonna close up. We're gonna host someone. Does anyone want to go on a bit of a raid, a masquerade? Let me know in chat if you guys want to go on a raid. And if you don't know what a raid is, I will explain how we do it. But whether or not you want to go on a raid, I'll be hosting someone. I'm always hosting someone here on the channel, so check back. You might find your new favorite streamer that way. For now, a big thank you to my co-host, a big thank you to FoxyX22, Journeyman Vader, all of the keepers for helping out in chat. And I want to leave you with these words. From myself and my keepers, to all of you, the regulars, followers, newcomers, and the lurkers, whether you're just having a seat by the fire, or you've got a running tab at the bar, remember, there's always more stories to tell. And hopefully I'll see you all on Monday for the beginning of Assassin's Creed Origins and a new chapter. Good night, guys. I will see you soon.